Hello viewers, I'm your host Pratiksha Mishra with another episode of South Asia Focus. Let's start the show by discussing Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's visit to India, which highlighted the deep cultural and historical ties between the two nations. Prime Minister Hasina and PM Modi engaged in discussions aimed at boosting bilateral relations in defense, economy, and technology, resulting in significant agreements. This visit, the first by a foreign leader since India's new government took office, strengthened mutual cooperation and emphasized the strategic partnership that has grown since Bangladesh gained independence in 1971. Take a look. Bangladesh's Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina undertook a notable two-day journey to New Delhi, where she received a formal welcome at Rashtrapati Bhavan, the official residence of the President of India. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi warmly received her, laying the groundwork for a series of important engagements. During his stay, Sheikh Hasina paid tribute to Mahatma Gandhi at Rajghat, symbolizing the enduring values of peace and non-violence that bind Bangladesh and India together. The leaders then held extensive talks involving delegations, focusing on bolstering bilateral relations across various fields. A pivotal moment of the visit was the signing of multiple agreements aimed at boosting cooperation in defense, economy, and other key sectors. Sheikh Hasina and Prime Minister Narendra Modi oversaw these signings, highlighting their joint commitment to mutual prosperity and regional stability. Among the agreements exchanged were pledges to foster a digital and green partnership for sustainable development, illustrating shared aspirations for technological advancement and environmental protection. These agreements and renewed memoranda of understanding across diverse sectors represented a significant stride in strengthening the strategic partnership between India and Bangladesh.
আজকে আমরা দুই পক্ষ যে আলোচনা করেছি অত্যন্ত ফলপ্রসূ আলোচনা আমরা করতে পেরেছি এবং বৈঠকে আমরা অন্যান্য পারস্পরিক স্বার্থ সংশ্লিষ্ট বিষয়ের মধ্যে রাজনীতি ও নিরাপত্তা, বাণিজ্য, সংযোগ, অভিন্ন নদীর পানি বণ্টন, জ্বালানি ও শক্তি, আঞ্চলিক ও বহুপাক্ষিক সহযোগিতা নানা বিষয়ে আলোচনা করেছি। বাংলাদেশ আমাদের রূপকল্প আমরা এবার ঘোষণা দিয়েছি, কারণ একটা লক্ষ্য স্থির না থাকলে সামনে এগোনো যায় না। আমরা স্মার্ট বাংলাদেশ 2041 সালের মধ্যে গড়ে তুলব, আর ভারত বিকশিত ভারত, বিকশিত ভারত 2047।
During the bilateral discussions, India and Bangladesh signed an MOU to expand transit facilities, allowing Bangladeshi goods to transit through the Indian railway network to Nepal and Bhutan. Both nations also agreed to expedite the implementation of the Bangladesh-Bhutan-Nepal-India Motor Vehicle Agreement to boost sub-regional connectivity. Additionally, they discussed cooperation on counter-terrorism, border management, and other relevant issues.
हमने काउंटर टेररिज्म, कट्टरवाद और बॉर्डर के शांतिपूर्ण प्रबंधन पर अपनी सहभागिता को मजबूत करने का निश्चय किया है। इंडियन ओशन क्षेत्र के लिए हमारी विजन समान है। इंडो पैसिफिक ओशन इनिशिएटिव्स में शामिल होने के लिए बांग्लादेश के निर्णय का हम स्वागत करते हैं। हम बिम्स्टेक सहित अन्य रीजनल और अंतर्राष्ट्रीय फोरम पर भी अपना सहयोग जारी रखेंगे।
Sheikh Hasina's visit marked the first state visit by a foreign leader since the formation of the new government in India. India and Bangladesh share a long and multifaceted relationship shaped by historical, cultural, and geographical ties. Post-independence, Bangladesh emerged as a separate nation in 1971 following a liberation war with Pakistan, during which India provided crucial support. India was the first country to recognize Bangladesh's independence, marking the beginning of diplomatic relations between the two nations. Since then, bilateral ties have evolved significantly, encompassing trade, defense, connectivity, and people-to-people exchange. The residents of Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir endure a year-long battle against soaring prices and unfulfilled promises. Despite repeated protests for relief on food and electricity cost, the administration's response has been arrest rather than assistance. A local Fahad Ahmed Kiani's revelation of torture while in custody underscores the harsh realities facing dissenters in this region. A report.
It has been over a year and the residents in POJK are still grappling with inflation and high prices of wheat flour and other essential food items. There have been several protests demanding subsidies on wheat and flour prices as well as electricity bills, but the administration has not fulfilled any of these demands. Instead, they arrested those who joined the protests. Fahad Hamid Kiani, who was arrested along with other protesters in May, revealed that he was tortured in jail for 6 days.
वहाँ पे 6 दिन हमें समझ लें टार्चर किया गया कि हमें बंद कमरों में रखा गया, बाहर निकलने की इजाज़त नहीं है, किसी से मिलने जुलने की इजाज़त नहीं है। जो बंदा जिसका कोई जुर्म ही नहीं है, जिस पे कोई FIR नहीं है।
During the massive demonstrations in May, 3 protesters and 1 security official were killed in clashes. An alliance of civil rights groups called off the protest following several days of turmoil when Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif approved a grant of 24 billion Pakistani rupees to help meet most of their demands. However, activists have now raised concerns over the lack of action in providing subsidies and any sort of relief to the residents.
लेकिन हुकूमत इस वक्त अपनी हठधर्मी पर डटी हुई है और वो अभी तक जो है आवाम को सब्सिडाइज आटा और फ्री बिजली का हक़ जो है, फ्री बिजली का हक़ भी उन्होंने ना दिया। 3 रुपये फ़ी यूनिट जो उन्होंने ऐलान किया, 3 रुपये 5 रुपये, तो वो भी जो है अभी तक उन्होंने नहीं दिया।
Fahad told reporters that administration has not resolved any of their issues and has failed to fulfill any of their primary demands. He also highlighted that charges of murder have been pressed against the activists, which he believes are bogus and intentional.
जो है अभी तक मसाइल जो है वो हल नहीं हुए। हमारे बहुत से असीरान अभी भी रिहा नहीं हुए, जिन पे बेबुनियाद और बोगस FIR जो है वो उन पे लगाई गई है और उनको यानी 302 में अंदर किया गया है। जो ASI शहीद हुए उनका जो कत्ल है वो उन पर डाला गया है। हालांकि FIR में पुलिस ने ये चीज़ खुद लिखी हुई है कि इनको उस कत्ल से आधा घंटा पहले हमने अरेस्ट कर लिया था।
There are signs of unrest brewing among the residents over these demands. Locals in POJK are fed up with the administration and the authorities in the region. Heavy taxation and the lack of subsidies on food have disgruntled the local populace. Amidst inflation and a high degree of suppression from the administration, matters are getting worse in POJK.
Time now for Asia This Week, the stories from across the continent.
Taiwan said on Wednesday that it had chased away Chinese Coast Guard vessels from waters off one of its outlying islands, Kinmen, while also criticizing China for improper law enforcement methods and interference in the Pacific. According to Taiwan's Coast Guard administration, 4 Chinese Coast Guard vessels had entered restricted waters close to Kinmen on 2 separate occasions on June 25 morning before being driven away by Taiwan's vessels.
昨日6时及9时，4艘中国海警船进入金门县市水域，海巡署立即调派巡防艇，采取分组对应、全程监控，全数驱离至我国限制水域外。今年1月至6月25日止，海巡署已驱离越界陆船835艘，登检逮案7艘。海巡署严正执法的决心坚定不移。
China began regular Coast Guard patrols around the Taiwan-controlled Kinmen Islands earlier this year and has stepped up overall military pressure on Taiwan. India's Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar was welcomed by Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe on June 20, where they inaugurated Indian-funded projects in Sri Lanka. The projects included a maritime rescue coordination center for which India is providing a $6 million Indian grant, according to Wickremesinghe's office, as well as a housing scheme for tea estate workers of recent Indian origin. At their meeting, Wickremesinghe and Jaishankar also explored further strengthening bilateral ties and connectivity between the two nations under the India-Sri Lanka Economic Partnership Vision signed in July 2023. North Korean people held a mass rally in Pyongyang to commemorate the 74th anniversary of the beginning of the Korean War. In the footage provided by the North Korean official news agency KCNA, Mayday Stadium was packed with a large number of people listening to speeches and watching videos. Banners denouncing the United States, such as "Let's eliminate the sworn enemy, the US invaders," and "Let's retaliate against the US 100-fold," were hung up at the stadium.
이제 제국자들과 구수용식들은 오전날의 수대수원 참패를 망가하고 우리 국가의 주권과 국익을 침해하려는 반공화국 대결 강춘과 군사적 도발策동에 더욱 강분하고 있습니다. 하지만 어산하고 있습니다. 그리고 지금까지 다지고 다져온 자유적 국방력의 힘, 무무진한 일심단결의 힘으로 단내의 적들을 쳐부실 것입니다.
North and South Korea remain technically at war because their 1950-53 conflict ended in a truce, not a treaty.
Moving on. As Sri Lanka navigates its way out of a severe economic crisis, President Ranil Wickremesinghe has unveiled a debt restructuring agreement. This move, involving key global players like India, France and Japan, marks a pivotal step towards recovery after the country's first ever sovereign default in 2022. With an IMF bailout in the backdrop, Wickremesinghe's administration aims to breathe new life into stalled foreign projects. Take a look. Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe has announced a debt restructuring agreement involving India, France, Japan and China, marking a significant move towards economic recovery following the country's 2022 debt default. With the support of an IMF bailout program, the deal aims to revive dormant foreign projects. Sri Lanka's bankruptcy in 2022 was attributed to economic mismanagement, COVID-19 repercussions and tax reductions. The agreement postpones loan repayments until 2028 and extends the repayment period through 2043.
ඒකතාවයන් සමග විදේශ රටවල සියලු දෙපාර්ශ්වික ණයවාරික ගෙවීම 2028 වසර දක්වා කල් දමා ගැනීමට අපට හැකි වේවි. ඉන්පසු සහනදායි කොන්දේසි මත සීළු ණය ගෙවා අවසන් කරන්නට 2043 දක්වා දිගු කාලයක් ලබා ගන්නටත් අපට අවස්ථාව ලැබේවි. 2023 වසරේ අප දේශීය ණය ප්‍රතිවගත කරන කටයුතු අවසන් කළා. දැන් විදේශීය රටවල දෙපාර්ශ්වික ණය ප්‍රතිවගත කරන කටයුතු සාර්ථකව අවසන් කර ගැනීමට අපට හැකි වී තියෙනවා. ඊළඟට අපට තියෙන්නේ විදේශීය බැඳුම්කර හිමියන්ද ඇතුළත් වාණිජ්‍ය ණය හිමියන් සමග එකඟතාවයකට එළඹීම.
During Wickremesinghe's national address, his supporters gathered in Colombo watching his speech on a large screen. They welcomed the announcement, seeing it as a means to reignite vital infrastructure initiatives. The supporters celebrated the announcement by lighting fireworks and enjoying traditional milk rice.
ඇත්තටම මං හිතන්නේ අපි දැන් මංකොලොත් භාවයෙන් නිදහස් කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ වැටිච්ච රට ගොඩගත්තේ අපේ ජනාධිපතිතුමා තමයි.
සර දෙකක් තුල මේ රටේ බංකොලොත් භාවය අයින් කරලා දාලා රට සංවර්ධනය කරා වේගවත්ව ගමන් කරන්න මන්දගාමීන් මේ වේගවත්ව ගමන් කරන්න පුළුවන් ගමන් මාර්ගයක් හදන්න තමයි රටේ ජනාධිපතිවරයා සූදානම් වෙන්නේ.
Earlier during his address at the 31st All India Partners Meet in Colombo from June 20 to 22, President Ranil Wickremesinghe highlighted Sri Lanka's resilience through 2 challenging years of economic crisis, attributing it to the crucial financial support of $3.5 billion from India. He underscored his commitment to maintaining a robust partnership with New Delhi, noting that during his recent visit to India for the new government's inauguration, he and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi discussed key areas of collaboration. Wickremesinghe further mentioned that there is also an emphasis on a project aimed at creating land connectivity between Sri Lanka and India. In April 2022, Sri Lanka experienced its first sovereign default since gaining independence from Britain in 1948. This unprecedented financial crisis resulted in President Wickremesinghe's predecessor, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, stepping down from office in the same year. India's musical landscape is a mosaic created with threads of classical, folk and contemporary influences resonating across generations and borders. This ancient musical tradition, with its intricate rags and tals, has been passed down from generations as a legacy for centuries. The Banaras Gharana in India, one of the prominent Indian gharanas or school, often known as the custodians of Indian ancient classics, is carrying forth the tradition even today through their long lineages. Join us as we explore the musical heritage of the city of Varanasi.
Nestled on the banks of the Ganga River, the city of Varanasi intertwines with spirituality, resonating with hearts through its timeless melodies and classical music. These streets often come alive with the traditional beats of drums, tabla and sitar, creating a vibrant symphony, captivating locals and visitors alike. Amidst this lies a musical tradition that originated in the 18th century and continues to flourish today. The Banaras Gharana alongside the ancient banks of the Ganga. The Banaras Gharana, known for its intricate musical compositions, vocal brilliance and seamless dance moves, narrates the tales of ancient India, standing as a testament to the country's rich cultural heritage. Let's meet Pandit Deobrat Mishra, who hails from a long lineage of Indian classical musicians. His father, Pandit Shivnath Mishra, is an Indian sitar player and the first person in the Banaras Gharana to have introduced the sitar. In 2022, he was awarded the Padma Shri, one of the highest civilian awards of India. Mishra, one of the prominent sitar players and the 11th generation of the Varanasi musical Gharana, proudly carries forth the age-old legacy of his family, which continues to stun audiences worldwide.
It's soulful music. You can find in Varanasi. There are, so something is like Varanasi is still preserving it. And for international audience, I want to tell you that this Banaras still carry on the old tradition. So if somebody wants to come and study in this beautiful town, they should come, they should meet musicians here.
The soul-stirring vocals and instrumental brilliance of this ancient musical tradition are inspired by various musical styles like Dhrupad, Khayal and Thumri, creating a unique musical language. With each note and tal, the intricate musical composition of Banaras Gharana evokes a multitude of emotions in the listeners. Moreover, one can find the relevance of the ancient Guru-Sishya tradition within the walls of Gharanas, where they teach discipline through a spiritual way of teaching.
In Varanasi, there is still this tradition of guru and student, and to learn there. Yes, and that's how I ended up in Varanasi, and that's how I found this school and my teacher. There is a fundamental difference in a lot of like in teaching, in how I learned guitar in the West from teachers, but this Guru Shish Parampara is way more. It builds on a lineage, and like I'm not here, and I am not only here and have a teacher, but I'm living in this house, having a teacher whose father is also my teacher and whose son is also playing, and I'm like immersed in music, and I'm immersed in this environment.
While music provides a total brain workout, dance adds a unique dimension to it. Like music, dance in Gharanas hold equal significance and is popular worldwide for its eccentric style and technique. Kathak, a classical dance form of India, has historic associations with Indian Gharanas, as does the Banaras Gharana. The articulate Kathak dance of Banaras Gharana has its own distinct style, characterized by intricate footwork and rhythmic moves, making it a medium to narrate mythological folk tales. Meet Vishal Krishna, an outstanding Kathak performer and the 11th generation dancer of this Gharana. Krishna exhibits the distinctive movements characteristic of the Banaras style of dance, which resemble the divine gestures of Lord Shiva and Lord Krishna.
I started learning from very childhood when I was like 3.5 years old, and everybody in my family is a dancer. My aunt, my father, my sisters, they all are dancers. So my father used to say one thing, I will speak in Hindi, कि मछली के बच्चे को तैरना कभी सिखाया नहीं जाता है. So I think मुझे लगता है कि बचपन से ही वो इन्फ्लुएंस रहा है घर का, कि मेरे फादर भी टीचर थे, गुरु थे, और बहुत सारे उन्होंने स्टूडेंट्स तैयार किए हैं बनारस में. तो मुझे लगता है ऐसे ही धीरे धीरे मुझे उसमें एक कह सकते हैं ना कि कथक से मुझे प्यार हो गया.
The term Kathak is derived from the Sanskrit words Katha, which means story, and the Kathaka, which means one who tells the story. The ancient tradition of Kathak dance is deeply ingrained in the cultural value system of the country, which is being preserved through gharanas in Lucknow, Jaipur, Raigad and Banaras. These gharanas also run academies and schools where they impart various techniques and styles of Kathak art and storytelling through dances. Gharana holds immense significance in the Indian musical arena, serving to preserve the country's age-old musical heritage, akin to the sacred Ganga's flow from generation to generation, and impart their values to the world with the same sincerity.
The Banaras Gharana embodies the essence of India's classical music tradition, preserving it for future generations. And with that, we come to the end of this week's episode. See you next week. Goodbye and take care.